Hi, I'm Ashley, one of the coaches here at Dumpling. Today, I am joined by Coach Sarah and one of our successful business owners, Nychole of Fritz Delivery Service from Sturgis. Nychole started her dumpling business in May of 2022 and has completed 614 orders on the platform and serves over 20 clients weekly. Today, we will be chatting with Nychole about her business and how she has gotten to where she is today. Hey, Nychole, welcome and thank you so much for joining us. Can you give us some information on where you started prior to starting your business with Dumpling and what made you want to start your own business?
All right. So where I started was with Shipt and Instacart. I did Instacart first and then switched right over to Shipt because it worked a little bit better for me. And I did that for, what was it, 3 years. And then I was just really wanting to jump into my own thing because I had clients asking me if I'm ever going to go out on my own to start my own business. And if I did, that they would come with me. So kind of gave me a little bit of a confident boost when I did find Dumpling. And I did find Dumpling around that time that person said that. And that was 2 years ago. And I was not confident enough to go over to Dumpling yet. But I did once I had talked to another person, which was Chuck. He was awesome and got me onto the platform. And that's basically where I started. Before that, I worked for Jayco, and I didn't want to do that normal day-to-day life of getting up at 3 a.m. and coming home at 6 p.m. That was not fun because I worked in a warehouse. So that was where I started, and I jumped to Shipt, and now here.
That's awesome. I think that's a lot of people kind of start that way. I know I did myself as well. When I started, it took me like 3 months to even get an order or to do anything because I was just nope, I don't have the confidence. I'm not going to be able to do this. So you were not the only one. That is for sure. So how have you put your previous experience kind of into your dumpling business?
I was actually a parts puller for Jayco. So doing that, it was literally the same thing as what Shipt was. I had location spots, where to go, where to find my product, and I would end up shipping it out at Jayco. So when I came over to Dumpling, or when I came over to Shipt, it was basically the same thing. I was a lead doing that, and I told my boss at the time that I loved the mystery of finding things. And then when it couldn't find it at the store, like I went on a hunt and I would go and talk to the employees and talk to them to find out where everything was if I couldn't find it. And they got to know me really, really well. And I got very familiar with our local Meijer store because that's the one store we had for a while. So I built those relationships up at the store between all of our many employees that we had, and they helped me a little bit along the way on helping me get my product.
That's awesome. I think that just goes to show that you really care about making sure that they get everything on their list, and they're not working off like a partial recipe or something like that. There are some people who just have a knack for it and who just like being in the store and like finding things. And so it sounds like that's kind of how you ended up here, which is awesome. What do you like most about having your own business versus working for a gig company like Instacart or Shipt?
I like that I can set everything. You can see my schedule from the beginning of the week to the end of the week. If anything happens, I can still take myself off, but I have control over a lot of things, which down to how many orders I take and how late I really want to work, because that was a conflict of I have kids and I couldn't always be on the schedule, and now they can see my schedule. They can get a hold of me whenever they need to. I set the price to what's I consider a affordable rate for the service. I don't have a higher rate like other people. I've noticed that. I do keep it pretty low, but I do have a lot of people that repeat weekly, and I service them multiple times in a month. So I like to keep things a little bit lower on that price point. But there's so many things about the app that I like versus what I could see. I love that I can look at my client and see everything they've ordered in the last, I think it's like all the way back. I haven't had any time where it doesn't tell me when they ordered. But that's just some of the things that I like in the
I
SOS also.
I love that you mentioned the schedule flexibility, because I had a similar situation working for gigs with anytime my kid was sick or something, I would have to go off the schedule, and you can even get penalized for that, which is so silly. But now it's like the clients know me and they're happy to just do it tomorrow or a different time in the day, as long as I talk to them. And so I'm glad that you brought that part up, because for me, that's kind of a huge difference. We kind of talk about it so simple, but it allows you to kind of be a parent and work without feeling like you're messing up in one space by taking care of the other one.
Yep. And I'm like, man, if I can get to the kids things at this time, I can rearrange it with my client. I don't have to call somebody and say, hey, like, I need to switch this person's schedule. And they're like, no, you can't. No, I can with this. And I love, that's another thing. You can hit that little button and change the date, the time. So if emergencies happen, which I've had a family, they've had an emergency and they needed to cancel and switch to the next day. So I just did it for them. They didn't have to worry about it. Had other times where they were like, oh, I had a doctor's appointment come up that I forgot about and we need to schedule. So I can easily change the schedule for them, and they like that they don't have to do a single thing for that. I just do everything for the client.
I love that you mentioned that. I think that's the biggest thing for me, the communication key, right? Is you no longer have to go through, I mean, you can still chat through the app, but it's not Instacart or shipped, right? You have the client's phone number, you can call them, you can text them personally and reach out to them. I mean, my client just before I hopped in here was like, hey, I think I have allergies, but it might be a cold. You might not want to come inside today, just drop everything outside. Like that wouldn't happen with Instacart unless it was through a text. And even then they don't know me. So what are the chances, right? You're building a relationship, and it's so much different than just the chat and done. And then they can't contact you later in the day if there's an issue. I've forgotten bags of food in my car somehow, like how that happens, I don't know, but things like that where they're not able to tell me. And now you just get a bad rating, which is here, they're like, hey, by the way, Nychole, I'm missing my milk or the eggs cracked. And you're able to, take care of that and fix it for them without having to get that bad review or wait later and be like, wait, why did they rate me bad? I don't understand. So.
Yeah, I still pride myself on my ratings, but when I'm on Shipt and I see that bad, like a 3 or 4, those are the lowest I got was a 3 or 4. And I'm like, no, why? I try hard. But it was those times where you're like, I did miss something. I still remember it. It was like 3rd order on Shipt. And I grabbed somebody, so it was parsley instead of cilantro. And I couldn't fix it. And I was like, man, like they always say when you leave, you can't go back to say anything to the customer. You technically can't like get a hold of them and even say, happy birthday, I'll bring you something. So like, I like that I can get a hold of my customers and I'm not going to get in trouble. Nobody's telling me you can't do this. No, I can do this. I can work myself around the schedule, do whatever you need, take you somewhere if needed. I haven't done that yet. I don't have a chauffeur's license.
They're your clients, right? Versus being Instacart's clients or Dumpling's clients. Like you're sourcing the majority of them and they're working with you. And if you're keeping them happy, they have every right to be able to contact you and vice versa, because that's the best and only way you can really build the business, right? And getting to know them as a person, it makes your job easier. It makes their lives easier at the end of the day. So totally, I agree.
Yeah, no more long phone calls trying to get someone to help you who isn't even like hands-on with your stuff. They can just talk to you directly. And that's such a time saver for them too. Those whole times can be 45 minutes or more, right? And so for them to just be able to shoot you a text and adjust things, and then even on top of that, having you be able to just adjust it on your end and have them just like walk away and get back to what they need to do is huge. That's so much more than just saving time by doing their grocery shopping.
Oh yeah. And you say like it was 40-minute wait time. My longest was a 6-hour wait time and they hung up on me. So one of like my first orders when I came over to Dumpling, it was a weekend very early here. So I'm pretty sure everybody over on the other side of the country wasn't even awake. And I was freaking out, not sure what to do because my client's card got declined. So I was like, oh no, what do I do? And it took a few minutes, but Joel actually got on and he assisted me in that. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome. I didn't know who he was until after the fact. I was like, hey, he actually helped me. Like he cared, helped me. And he's not just, I'm some other person on his platform or anything like that. Right there, when that happened, that showed me a lot that he cares about all the people that are on the platform, even though like he doesn't I don't think he does our stuff day to day. He said he would try out gig jobs here and there when he first started, but yeah, I was like, that blew me away when that happened. I was like, man, I'm never going to be alone on this ever. Like somebody's going to have my back. Somebody's going to be able to help me on the other side.
Exactly. That's the one thing we definitely try to pride ourselves in, make sure that SOS goes as smoothly as possible. A lot of us on the team, the dumpling team, Ashley and myself included, we came from the gig world. So we had those wait times of an hour plus. So we know how, when you're standing in the store with ice cream, with hot food, you need to get going. You can't be standing there for an hour. So we try to keep those as quick as possible. The entire team, we take shifts going on SOS. That includes Joel and the other founders of the company. So it's not just, it's everybody. We all chip in to do it, to make sure that everything is running smoothly for you guys while you're doing orders. And we only close for, I think it's 8 hours a day. So between, midnight and 8 a.m. Eastern time are the only times. And even then, occasionally there will be people with eyes in there just to make sure that there's nothing going on. So yes, that is something that we work super hard to make sure you guys don't just sit there having to wait forever. So kind of to segue into the next question, kind of based off of everything we just talked about, but what was like the biggest difference that your clients who came from another gig, when they came to your business, what did they see and what did that kind of look like for them when they transitioned?
The biggest thing was the in-store pricing, because a lot of my clients came off of another platform and they were paying those higher prices and hidden fees. I did find that a .com company that Shipt was using, they were up charging a secret tax. And I found that out and I was like, no, like we don't pay 7% here in Michigan. We pay 6%. It was a huge thing. And I was like, man, like my customers know, it says it flat out right there. The transparency is there. They know all the money is coming to me and they are happy to pay in-store pricing. They're not getting upcharged on everything. And they know that it's coming to me and my family to help get us through life and to build my business to be more successful. So I can put a little bit more into the company, because you got to work on those cars and stuff when you're always driving. But that was a big thing. The person that wanted me to go off on my own, they were a huge confidence booster on that. They didn't really want to stick with them. And they were kind of like telling me at that time, like, hey, switch over. But the huge thing is the cheaper prices, and also Costco. I do love that. And they love that they can get stuff from Costco. I just was it yesterday? I did 6 orders yesterday at Costco and I did 4 orders at once. Got it into the vehicle and I have ice packs, coolers, all that in my vehicle. So when I went to do the last 2 orders, which had perishables on it, got those busted through and got everything back to our town, because I travel an hour to the nearest Costco and then an hour back. So trying to keep everything very cold is challenging sometimes, especially during our summers. But it was, that one was a big one and people do love that. We can get anything we want from up there versus here in our little small town where we're paying a lot more in pricing at our local stores.
That's such a smart way to do it. It's obviously they don't have the time or the desire to drive an hour and then deal with the Costco parking lot and crowd on top of it. And so just providing that as a service and saying, hey, if I just put a couple of you together, that's less gas. And, please do this time. And they're happy to do that. That's kind of a game changer for them, because otherwise they might only go to Costco every few months. Or if they're living in your town, why have a Costco membership if you're only going there every few months, right? And so not paying the membership to the other gig or the Costco membership, they're just paying you per order. That's a big savings as well. On top of these in-store prices and being able to add in any coupons that you find and things like that. I think your specific situation with Costco in itself is a huge saver for them. And it's not that you're walking away with nothing, right? You're being paid for your time and being able to like cover all your expenses, and know that you can do that, but there's not all this money disappearing in the middle that you don't know about. So it makes it worth it to do a service like that. So I love that your customers have figured that out and are saying, well, we'll all just do Costco the same day and kind of go from there. That's really, really cool. I know you had mentioned obviously keeping food cold on a lot of orders, but has there been any sort of other challenges that you've had in your business, whether it's kind of like logistics or administrative or anything like that, that you've had to overcome?
I get a little nervous talking to people sometimes, even though I'm super bubbly and happy all the time. I would say I was kind of my biggest challenge, honestly, because I needed to go out there and bring my own clients, and some of them didn't want to come with me, but a lot of them did. So I would say that was my biggest challenge, was me, is overcoming some of my fears, because it's not somebody just giving me an order and do I want to go and do that one, or am I just gonna hang out? But with this, I just go and do it after I get my customers on the platforms, which thankfully I have a lot of customers that talk great about me and have brought over some customers for me. So I'm getting a little bit better at talking a little bit for that.
I'm glad you said that. That's a actually common challenge for people, myself included, is how do I now have to like sell myself? That feels very strange and unnatural. But once you do it and you practice and you make it happen, then it kind of snowballs. Other people essentially jump in and help you with it once they're happy with your service. And so just getting to that point is what we try to get people to do. Like, just get those first few customers, serve them so well, and then it gets easier from there. So thank you for being vulnerable and admitting that, because we hear privately, right, that a lot of people are nervous about that or struggle with that. And so just hearing that someone has come to the other side of that is so helpful.
I would have to agree. I am an introvert at heart. I always have been. And it was so scary. I'm like, why, Sarah, why are you doing this? Right? You're starting your own business. Like, you have to talk to people and gain your own clientele. And it gets easier. It gets easier and easier every single year. I mean, now I do things like this where I talk to people all the time, and I never thought in a million years I would. I think once you, like Ashley said, once you start, it's a snowball effect. And it's just like, oh, okay, that wasn't that bad. And now you know what to do for next time. And then you kind of realize, I feel like I remember my first time I ever mentioned my business. I was getting my car fixed, and I was just talking to this lady sitting, she was also getting her car fixed, and we're chatting, right? We're right next door to a Wegmans. So we're just talking about one of her family members that needs delivery. And there you go. She started talking about that. And next thing you know, we're talking about my business, and it was natural. Like, I never forced it. I wasn't like, oh yeah, I do this. It just kind of came to be. And I'm like, that's how you do it. Okay. So that's not that bad, right? You just have a conversation with somebody around you, and it quite likely may come up. So things like that, where it seems scarier in the beginning, especially if you're not an extrovert and you're not used to, really being the center of attention. I always like to just hide in a corner, but you can't do that when you're trying to build a business. So it made me feel a lot more confident though, because now I'm like, all right, there are people that do care. There are people that do want to hear about my business. If I don't talk about it, how will they hear? So I just kind of remind myself that every single time of like, maybe don't say anything. No, maybe do say something. Awesome. So next question. What would you say is your business niche, or another like service that you may provide, or something that kind of helps to set you apart versus, the gig apps that you've worked for in the past?
I put a personal touch on things. I don't grab things and just slam it into the cart. Like, I overlook everything. I put boxes with boxes and cans with cans lightly, so nothing's overloaded. Like, I try to pay as close to detail as I can. Some days I might not be the best and I might slip, but most of the time I'm on it. I try to even at the door, because I do have some customers that don't come out to me because I have a lot of business owners that are doing their work inside. So I just drop everything off at the door, and I'm greeted by a puppy sometimes, and I'll hang out with the dog for a second, pet it, give it love, and then I fit everything by the door. And there is the animal outside. I try to make sure there's nothing going to be getting touched by that animal, because might have had that happen before. Some animal just came up, started putting their face into the groceries, and I was like, no, there's lunch meat in there. So like I try to make sure that I have that personal touch, and your stuff is always handled with care.
I love that. That's such a good attention to detail on the pets too, because yeah, we've all heard of that happening where someone's dog ripped apart groceries and then it's like, no, I did get you that. And again, working with you where you're not having to just run off to the next thing and mark it done, you can wait around for a minute or distract the dog or let them know like, hey, by the way, your dog is trying to take this. You might not even be able to do that in another context. So that's awesome that you at least notice that, because yeah, and I'm sure it's happened to them before ordering delivery where they haven't gotten their items. Perfect. I think the next question would be, I know we talked about talking to people and word of mouth, but what kind of marketing have you found works the best for your business?
Person to person, and I hand out cards whenever I'm in person, or if I was like dropping something off to somebody, I like to write a little note and give them my cards. But my cards, I would have to say my business ones are my biggest advertisement. And next would be the customers, and then Facebook. I do Facebook. I'm not always on it. I try to keep something at least every couple of days, because it is really hard to stay up on Facebook for a company. I never realized how really difficult it was, but I try my hardest to stay up to date on there. If there's anything happening, I do like to reach out to some of my customers. And on there is where I don't market myself on Facebook. I will share my stuff on my own personal page, send it to had my friends get on there, and they would invite some people. But other than that, I have customers that go on our local Facebook pages, and they've said really great things about me. And I've gained quite a few customers from those customers just giving the great review on Facebook, and it was in our local groups. I know that some people have to have a huge detailed thing. They can only post once a week, but I don't post anything in any of those groups. I just let my customers say nice things about me online, and I just continue with my own page and put things on there.
I'm glad you said that too, because that is right. Obviously, self-promotion in groups, if you see a conversation that you can jump in on, absolutely, and then kind of build that community with people. But a customer referral goes really far. And so customers that are well taken care of, they're happy to do that. And the nice thing is, it just gives a space for them to connect back to you. They don't have to go pull up your phone number. They don't have to try to remember your exact link or text you and ask for it. They can just drive them directly to you that way. So even if it's not something that you feel like you're doing all the time, it is still serving its purpose in that way, which is really cool.
Exactly. And would you mind so within social media, a few different questions on that. What do you typically kind of post within that? And then were you ever uncomfortable using social media in any way? And if so, what kind of made you feel more comfortable utilizing it?
I post at the beginning, I would post about what was going on in the store. We had coolers break down, and then you weren't going to get any frozen items one day. So I was like, oh, I'm going to take pictures and put it on my Facebook. And that way, if you some people did see that. It wasn't too popular then, but I would post about that. The recalls, if there is recalls and I know I've purchased that for somebody, I want to put that on there so they know and just go and check your stuff, even if I didn't purchase it from you. And it's just a community member looking at my page, at least it's out there and you know that there was something that was recalled and you really need to check it. What else? I also like to do Friday things, like a little happy Friday meme on there. I try to do one every Friday, might skip a few here and there, like little funny days. Like today is National Small Business Day. So on those days, or chocolate day, I like to put some funny things when it's dogs or cats or anything with food. I'm like, what do you like to have for the candies? What was your favorite candy? I like to try to be interactive on my Facebook page to get the customers to talk and to just be a little bit more interactive on the Facebook page and with me. So like I can even get to know them more. So if there is a time I'm like, well, I know if you're having a little bit of a bad day, I'm going to go get you some gummies if you like gummies. But just stuff like that, random things sometimes, just trying to keep upbeat, happy things. I don't do like recipes or anything like that. I really wish I could, but I'm not interested in that. And what I felt uncomfortable with on social media was putting my face on there. Is just, it felt so weird, but taking more pictures of myself in front of stores. I would promote stores that way. When I'm in front of Costco, take a little picture of myself in front of Costco and you would see the Costco sign. We had Aldi's open up here in town, pretty recent. And whenever they were building and working on it, because it was an old Kroger building that they had to take part of it apart to make the good Aldi's, I would go by and drive by and just take pictures of it, little updates on all these can be happening soon. And when it finally opened, I was able to do a little bit more interactions, but that's the stuff that I would post on there. And being live is how I'm trying to overcome my little fear of being in front of the camera, I guess. Is nobody sits there and, well, not a lot of people, I guess I know, will sit there in front of the camera and just talk to themselves. So I feel a little odd sometimes just sitting here talking to myself. So this is nice. I actually have somebody to talk to and not looking at my face.
So it sounds like a lot of you're not posting to promote your business per se, or to be like salesy. You're posting to give clients, to educate them, right? Whether it's recalls or the stores that are being built, or, hey, this is not in stock, so don't come to the store if this is what you need, type of thing. Like, it doesn't matter if they're utilizing you. Just by following you, they can gain information, and that is so valuable. And I think some people don't realize how important that can be as well. It's not always about like, pick me, order from me, but giving them that information so that they remember, hey, Nychole, in case they ever have that time where it's like, I do need a delivery. I know exactly where I need to go because I remember and I follow her page because she gives great advice. Things like that are so important. So I think that's really awesome, just how you kind of go about it. And yeah, the way you do that.
I think too, sharing your face on social media, it feels so daunting, right? Especially in a public space like that. But the nice thing for customers is if they've seen your face, they're going to actually have a better memory of you, which is really nice. And then for those customers who don't get to see you face to face often, it gives them a chance to also get to know you and build that trust and be like, oh, this lady's really nice. Okay, cool. And it just being your real self, right? And I think that is honestly, as much as we always feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing enough sales, I'm not promoting enough, that's actually the way to do it, is to just be yourself and be friendly and kind and informative. That's all they need, right? And so it's so easy for us to kind of like doubt ourselves when we're looking at, actual influencers in our feed and things like that. But hearing from customers, what they're always happy about is just that human to human connection and someone real and someone in their community. So I love that you voiced that kind of made you nervous and you're trying to overcome it, but you're not doing it in a way that's like forceful or pushy. It's just in a way that is helping them have access to information in the store that they don't if they're not shopping themselves. So I love that you mentioned that.
It's almost like she's posting just as her, even though it's on her business page, but it's like, it's no different. And I personally, I love and I gravitate towards people like that, just because it's like, I'm not just necessarily looking for somebody who could deliver my groceries, but I love the idea that you can keep me up to date on those recalls, on the fridges being down in the store, things like that, that are just helpful. And then you lighten the mood by, I love that you do, every Friday, or when you're able to, just kind of funny memes. Like there's nothing wrong with that. It does not have to all be business oriented and push. So I think that's great.
And then kind of a different direction here. For the future in your business, what do you see that looking like? Or do you have any kind of big goals coming down the road for you?
I want to kind of venture into being able to help people a little bit more. So I know some people, they have do little things on the side. I think it was Sarah that did meal prepping for somebody and would help them around the house. But I was like, that's a good idea. And I have so many business owners and people that just are trying to run a place. And I'm like, I know people that are like, I need an assistant to my assistant to my assistant. I'm like, well, if I'm low enough on a price and I have a little bit of time, like I could definitely come and help you. So that's something I really want to expand onto, is not just grocery shopping, but being able to help my business owners that are also out there in our community that need a little bit of help. If you need me to run some stuff to the post office, I can definitely do that. I can grab it on my way to a delivery, pick or back from a delivery. Like I do like that I have that option. And I would love to eventually have an employee, whether it's a family member or a friend that I could trust to be able to do things while I'm off and on vacation or something like that. And I know Dumpling's working on trying to get some of that figured out so we can like get the employee side and they don't see a whole bunch of stuff. So I will be anxiously awaiting that because I'm excited to see what that looks like. But eventually I would like to maybe have an employee, which I told my daughter she would be my employee probably first.
There you go. In that case, you don't even have to wait until the other like body app comes out because it's your daughter, and well, it's a little bit easier that way. But yes, it was me. So back when I first started, I don't have the client anymore, but I cleaned, I took care of his cats, took him to the vet. I did a lot of cooking for him. He was housebound for a lot of it. So I would even drive him places when he needed to, pick up his electric wheelchairs or replace the batteries. Like anything he needed, I would do when I would come for that weekly drop off. And I would stick around for a couple hours and he would pay me for that. And he opened it up the door to me. I delivered to him through Instacart, and he's like, the last person that delivered to me the other day, they just left everything outside. They didn't ring the doorbell. And I got there the next day and the groceries were still sitting there. Like he can't do that stuff. It needs to come inside. So when I got the order, of course, the note said, please ring doorbell, bring inside. Whoever didn't listen to that. So I rang the doorbell and he's like, oh, wow, they don't often do that. I was like, really? So I brought it inside for him, even though we're technically not supposed to do that. And that was just from there. It led to, do you know anybody that would be willing to clean a house? I just lost my, housekeeper. And I'm like, I mean, technically I can do it. Like I can clean my own house. I'm able to, if you want. And from there, I just gained a client. So it definitely, I enjoy doing stuff like that, being able, like you say, to help people. I'm already there. Like that's what I want to do. So if I'm able to, put your groceries away or take your cats to the vet, or, hey, you need to go on vacation, you want me to check in on them? Sure. If you're comfortable with that, I am too. It's really nice, especially in this business, because they do get to know you, they gain that trust, and yeah, it opens so many doors for sure.
I do a lot of that stuff too. And I like to think of it as those are all services where, just like grocery delivery, picking who you work with matters, and knowing who's coming to your house matters. And so, yeah, I've done picking up library holds for people, all sorts of like driving errands, right? But I've also done some meal prep. I've been pet sitting for a couple decades now, well before my business. And so I still do that. I'll help with events even. I really like doing like kids' birthday parties. So I look forward to seeing what that looks like for you in the future, because I see people do the most creative ideas. And it's just fun to watch. And it's great for customers because they already love you, they already trust you. And so often what we hear from people is that they didn't even think of doing something. It was that the customer approached them and offered it. And then they could decide, am I comfortable with that? What would I charge for that? And kind of go from there. But it's definitely a reasonable goal to have. I'm excited to see where that takes you.
So within the past year, since you've been around, what has kind of been the most exciting change within the Dumpling platform since you started that business, if anything at all?
I would have to say is for the customer side, right? Or is it on
Either.
the business?
Or for customer, yeah, either one.
So
Or
for the side, I've only been doing it for a year, and I like that when you go into search something, the little bubbles at the top that comes up in little categories, that was not on there when I first started, but a few months, like I think it was maybe 5 months after I started, that's when it was implemented. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I like this. So that's a huge one on the customer side that I really like. But on the on our side, I like that you can see who ordered how many times, when their last orders were. That is my biggest one on new app features.
Perfect. Yeah, we've definitely gotten a lot, especially since we added those filters to where you guys can kind of filter it out, because otherwise it was, before then it was a little difficult just if you had a lot of clients to find them. But that's been a big one for a lot of people of like, oh my gosh, I can go in and I can filter based off of, whatever. And it makes it so much easier to see, all right, Susie hit 10 orders. I'm going to give her a discount, or whatever it may be, that whatever reason it is that they're needing. So that's awesome to hear that.
And then another question for you. We've had you at office hours a little bit. Was there any sort of takeaway that you got from joining us, or anything with kind of the Dumpling overall community in general?
I would mainly get on the few here and there times that I was able to, because it was at a time where I was very busy on those days. I think it was Tuesday at 2. But I didn't get to join a lot of them, which I was upset with. And so I'm happy you guys got those changed to later times now, and hope to get on those. But I would have to say, just listening to everybody, hearing how people have ran their businesses, from the people that started during the pandemic and some of them that even did it before. Like, it was nice to hear everybody's experiences, what they do differently, because that has helped me form my business into what it is, from price ratings to just doing things for the customer, like what you guys said of helping them out and just doing stuff while you're there. But that's what I like the most, is I can just sit there and listen. I don't have to talk because I am shy. I don't want to be all out there. So I like that I can just sit there, and you guys have those times where if you need to have coaching time, you can, which I have not utilized that. So I don't know what it is like for the coaching hours. But from the people I do know that have used it, they said that it was great and it really, really helped them. So I like that you guys are also there for us on those too, to help us along the way.
Awesome. Yeah. So coaching, just to dive a little bit into that, it is different than office hours. So office hours, we typically hold those about once a week, and they're about an hour. Some of them can be just drop in where, whatever goes, you can bring up any kind of question, talk to people. And then there's other times where we do have like kind of topic sessions that are maybe geared towards, like we did one just yesterday that was a seasonal discussion. So we really just hit on all the upcoming kind of seasonal things throughout the next couple of months of how you can market your business and things like that. And then coaching, so that is one-on-one, and we can do that via email, chat message, through the app, or phone call, whatever is preferred by the business owner. And we just talk to you about your business, ask you questions to get a good idea. And then we help kind of guide you, answer questions, give tips and tricks that we've learned over the years, and just kind of be there for you as that kind of helping hand in a way, to lead you and kind of guide you if you do have anything. So that is definitely, it's more in-depth than say like office hours, which can range. It can be in depth sometimes, but other times it's more, sometimes newbie questions. And that coaching is definitely just focused on that person at that time, which means we can go a little bit more into detail, and really, like I was talking to you earlier with Richard, right? With him being in Alaska is going to be way different than say if we were talking to you in Michigan, because they're two totally different states and you're doing totally different businesses. So we're able to kind of change that and make sure that it's fitting your business more so than anybody else's. Awesome. So when you did sign up, how did you find the process of setting up your business within Dumpling? Was it difficult? Did you have the tools and everything that you kind of felt you needed to do so?
It was fairly easy setting up. The only things I had a little bit of issue is like some of the legal things, because I did get an LLC and try to make sure that I was good on that side. Just knowing some of the state things it was a little difficult to get it set up, but that's where it was a little tricky for me. It was just for my LLC mainly to get that going. I had a little difficulty with that, but signing up with Dumpling, it was fairly easy.
Awesome. And did you go through the university courses and things like that? Do you find that helpful? Perfect.
Oh yeah, I love that. It was so great because you can either do the order for yourself, for a friend. In my case, I did it for my husband. So he was sitting at home while I was out there grocery shopping like I usually would, but he would tell me, like, I would act as if he was my customer, and he helped me be able to adjust some things compared to on other apps to this. And I love that. You have to do a order for yourself or a friend. Like, that is the best thing. And that way you're not going to have some unknowns happen. And if anything, if you have a hiccup, you can run into it then. But it was a lot of a lot of great information that in the university, and the friendly order is the huge thing, because you're not allowed to shop for yourself on other platforms, and you just have to read everything, read and do all the videos and say you completed everything, and then you're just out there, and it's terrifying when you just are thrown out there. That's how I felt when I did my first 10 orders, and that's where I learned really quickly. Versus doing it on one order, and I learned everything I needed to know on that one order for the most part.
Exactly.
I love that you said that, because I have been in my business since 2019 and I still play with the customer app a lot. Anytime we get new features or anytime I have customers asking questions, I just make sure it's updated, and then I build a list like I was a client and I play with it. And it sounds kind of silly, but then anytime someone asks me a question, I'm the expert. I know what you're asking because I just looked at it. And I don't necessarily go do a full shop for myself now where I'm, filling the cart at the store. But I do still practice the building the order. And just seeing, obviously right now we've been talking about things looking different on Pick a Store. And so I play with it a lot just to make sure that I have an understanding. And yeah, when I was on Shipt and Instacart, there was so many questions that customers had that I couldn't answer, which was really hard. It just made me feel like I wasn't giving good customer service. And so I love that I can just have both on my phone and walk customers through things myself, and say, okay, this button will be on the right. This is what it looks like. This is what you're looking for. It's a much smoother process for them and for me. To just be able to see both ends. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. It definitely helps me as well. I'm also a hands-on learner in that way. And so I can watch meetings about all our new features, right? And hear about it and see the announcements for it. But until I play with it, I don't get it as well. And so, yeah, feel free to keep on doing that as long as you feel like you need to. Perfect. And then I think another question is, if you could give one tip to someone who's just signing up and starting their business, what would that be?
Don't be scared. That is definitely the big one, because so many people are like, I don't know if I should do it. Just don't question yourself and just don't be scared. Do it. It's going to be fine. And you have the support behind you, whether it's you guys. We have a few Facebook pages for a lot of business owners, and ones that some of the other people I know, we create a little group on chat and we talk to each other. If we're having issues or anything, like, we can talk, we'll find things out. Just don't be scared. You have plenty of people behind you to help you and get you to where you will be successful.
I have to agree. There's a lot of tools already for you. So whether it's the university, we've got guidebook, like you said, there's Facebook groups that are out there, the office hours where you can come and talk to other business owners that are there, not just Ashley and I. Like there's so many different avenues where you can gain so much information and have those questions asked. So just, I think diving in is just get your feet wet. That's the best way to do it, is just jump right in. And that way you're getting started instead of just dipping the toes in the water and taking your time. It can, sometimes it's too scary. I know for me, I just had to dive in. That was it. It was like, all right, I need to stop doing Instacart so much. And I need to, today I'm not doing anything, and I'm going to go around and pass out business cards. That's exactly what I did. And that's when my business started. So it's just taking that time, setting it aside. I think that's a big one, is especially when people are doing both, right? They're like, well, I don't want to not make money on Shipt or Instacart. So how do I do it? Just set aside a couple of hours if you can, and see what you can do within those hours for your business and go from there.
Yep, the worst anybody can say is no. So that's what I always say. And I'm like, it makes me feel at ease, because you can't say anything else. You can't hurt my feelings. Just say no. You don't need to use it. Don't need to.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with a no. Hearing a no, like, don't take that to heart. Don't think, oh, what am I doing wrong? It's not for everybody. You have to, like I always say, I look around my town and there's like 15 pizza joints, right? That's because everybody loves different kinds of pizza. So there's going to be, Susie likes this one, Ashley likes that one, and I like this one type of thing. But it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the other ones just because I choose not to go there. It just isn't for me, right? So just kind of thinking about it in that way of, just because they say no doesn't mean there's necessarily something that you're doing wrong. It just may not be for them. Maybe they don't want grocery delivery, or they don't need it. So, and we always like to say, for every no, you're one step closer to that yes. Usually it's like, what, every 9 no's, you'll get the 10th one will be a yes or something like that. So just, all right, you got to know, move on to the next one, and just kind of use that as your, that kind of, not a goal, but to push yourself forward of like, okay, well, I'm getting closer then. I got 1 no, let's 8 more. And then maybe I can get a yes, or something like that, just to remind yourself. Awesome. Well, those are all of the questions that we have for you today, Nychole. So we just want to say that we really appreciate that you took the time to chat with us and to share about all of your experiences within your business. I do also want to give you a little shout out and say happy 1-year anniversary tomorrow. You have come so far in just a year with that over 600 orders. And we are so incredibly excited to see where the next year is going to take you. We'll definitely have to reach back out to you and see how things are going down the road. But we really enjoyed chatting with you and cannot thank you enough for joining us today.
Well, thank you guys for that. And I appreciate you guys asking me to do the interview. I'm really grateful for it, because I was like, man, I don't think I'm doing that good. It's only a little bit, but hearing you guys talking, like, yeah, I did. Like, gotta keep on like giving yourself those good pats on the back, no matter what. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you've definitely just like figured it out as you've gone. And this is only the beginning, right? There's a lot of time left to come where it can just excel after that.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.
All right. Thank you. You guys too.